Well, good morning. Good morning. I said good morning. Good morning to Bob Prey, who just walked in. Good morning, Bob. Hi, Eve Potts. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist of Medfield. We're so pleased that you're here with us this morning, and special welcome all to those who are streaming in from home as well. This congregation first gathered in 1651, and this historic meeting house was built in 1789 on the unceded ancestral lands of the Nipmuc. Welcome. Welcome to this place. Here we search for truth and understanding. Here we celebrate life and we contemplate its mysteries. Here we share healing and wholeness. So whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we welcome you to this congregation.
Why We're Here by Eric Walker Wilkstrom. Here, today in this place, and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice be light our way.
You welcome this Sunday, this month in the new year. Like Janus, we gather with part of us looking backward and part of us looking forward. We gather on the edge of this new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, mindful of days long gone. We gather on the cusp of this new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for all that lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrows after that. We invite you to join our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings, beginnings. So friends, come, let us worship together.
Oh, come together in truth. Oh, come together in
is Morning Has Broken, number 38. You may be seated. Let's quiet our hearts and minds now as we enter into this solemn time of prayer and meditation. Take a moment to notice your breath. Slow down your breathing if you can. Notice the sounds here in the sanctuary and outside. Notice any discomfort you may be feeling in your body this morning. Breathe deeply. Let yourself be fully here, now, present in this moment. This morning we've already heard so many of our joys, celebration from last night's at the pizza game night. So much to be grateful for in this community. Heard sorrows, heard about loss and death, grief, holding those we love in light, those who are with us and those who have moved on from this place. The beauty of this community is we hold it all together. Hold all those joys and sorrows spoken. We also hold all those that weren't. So thankful to be here this morning on the cusp of this big weekend. Many of us met for hours yesterday and Friday night and talked and thought about who we are as a congregation, where we've been and where we want to go. We've expressed so many fond memories and positive feelings about why this place is so important to us. A deep concern that we can be good shepherds for this place moving forward so that the generations that follow us will continue to call First Parish home. Let's hold all of this in our hearts as we enter into a time of silent meditation. I'll now invite forward Martha Castle for a reflection.
Good morning. As all of you who participated this weekend in our activities know, the Executive Board retained the services of stewardship for us to help us as a congregation really determine how can we best strengthen our community, and also to help us facilitate goals in our strategy for the years to come. So I would like to invite Barry Finkelstein up, and he's going to introduce us to the work of stewardship for us, and then share a little bit about the next steps in the process and any recommendations. So Barry, please.
Thank you, Martha. So a little disclaimer right up front, not really going to do much of any of that right now, but it sounds good. But I will do more of that at 11:30, so show up for that. So, how many of you are jazz fans? Jazz music. So, I discovered the joys of playing jazz, mostly on the accordion, oddly enough, when I was about 10 years old. Now, the magic of jazz, seems to me, both for the performers and the audience, is the coming together of multiple voices, melodies, harmonies, rhythms, improvisations, all within a context of balancing freedom and structure. Now, the great thing about the accordion, the magic thing about the accordion, as my granddaughter shares with me all the time, is that you can be a one-person band. You can play all the parts. You can play the bass, the chords, the melody, the solos, all by yourself. You can accompany yourself, both hands, the whole thing, you know? And I've done that. But of course, jazz, like so many things, is better, really much better, when we do it together. Jazz is something like Unitarian Universalism. Think about it. We have a joining of multiple voices, sometimes but not always blending, sometimes in disharmony, yet always to remain both distinct and together at the same time in community. So what does it take to make that happen? In jazz, it requires a commitment to a shared structure and a vision for the tune we're playing and the group that we're a part of. We have to know what we are playing, why we are playing it, what we are trying to do, and how in general the parts will fit together. We want some, but not too much structure, so improvisation is possible, but the solos are constrained by the group's commitment to the structure of the piece and to the group's vision of how they're going to play it together. Each musician develops and deepens their sense of the music as they play together, and the whole gets better and better. And every time you play the piece, it's different and deeper and stronger, has been my experience. We UUs come together around a shared set of values and principles, and we build faith communities, much like jazz ensembles, to promote our individual and communal growth and our service to the world, making the music of love and justice and faith development and welcoming and working for a better world for all. Now, making music together also involves talking, and at least as important, listening to each other. I like the opening reading by Eric Wickstrom about talking and listening. I didn't even know that was going to be part of this. But we talk to each other in jazz. We talk through our instruments, but we also talk through our voices and words so that we can figure out what we're going to be doing. Now, my jazz experiences are pretty much all in the rhythm section. I play the accordion and the bass, upright bass. So my job most of the time is accompanying the melody instruments. And you just can't do the rhythm work any justice without listening. You have to listen all the time. Now, I'm doubly blessed to be able to play with a Unitarian Universalist jazz ensemble in Alexandria, Virginia, and a UU church house band in Arlington, Virginia, playing the upright bass in one of them and the accordion mostly in the other. Now, my spirit soars and my playing deepens with both of these groups, and they're very different from each other. Now, there are other elements of Unitarian Universalist life that draw my passion, of course, not just music. I'm also an owl teacher. I'm a social justice devotee, and I'm fiercely dedicated to widening the circle of Unitarian Universalism in many ways, and I'm called to strengthen stewardship to support all of that and everything else that we UUs do. You knew that I would get to stewardship at some point. Now, stewardship in our UU congregations is many things. It's about taking care of what is most important to us, being responsible stewards of our congregations. It's also about bringing people together and welcoming all of their gifts, as you're doing with these gatherings like you had last night. And all of their gifts, not just their money. It's about inspiring and deepening the generosity in each of us to be the engine of our mission-driven programs like Social Justice and OWL. Being a steward is a sacred responsibility. I learned a new phrase from one of your members yesterday that I promised to steal. We are called to be stewards of the now. I like that. For this brief moment in time, in the long history of this First Parish, you are it. You are the stewards of the now. And really, there's no one else but you who love this church so much. There's no one else to do the work that has to be done here. Now we, not just us stewardship or money people, but all of us are called to care for our beloved congregations for this moment in time. We're called to bring our gifts, all of our gifts, our very selves, to the stewardship project. And stewardship is so much more than raising money, although it is that. Stewardship taps into a deep well of human and UU generosity, which is spiritually enriching, spiritually energizing. Stewardship deepens our connections, our covenant with one another. After 16 plus years of consulting with well over 100 UU congregations, including many of your neighbors right around here, stewardship has become my ministry. Now, like jazz and making music generally, the best stewardship asks us to talk and listen to one another, getting back to that talking and listening business. If we can get over our discomfort talking about money and the baggage so many of us carry, we can amaze ourselves with the possibilities for a grander future. It has been wonderful to be with you this weekend. I came away from all of the meetings that I had Friday evening and yesterday totally jazzed. I heard moving stories about lives transformed and people lovingly supported here, held in love. I heard people being buoyed, celebrations of lives, coming of age services, being a visible and vocal member of the Medfield community about social justice activities. I was super impressed with your energy and the breadth and depth of programs and activities that you have here, your work on widening the circle and combating racism, your OWL offerings, your worship and music, your leadership, plus the loving care you give to tending this special historic building. You have so much to be proud of. For a church your size, and perhaps any size, you are doing an awesome amount of good work. My own UU faith and commitment were deepened by being here. I'm grateful to you, to this community. Now, some of our UU churches, including First Parish, face challenges when it comes to money, especially in these times. There's significant anxiety in the system here about the present and future, and a scarcity view seems to prevail at the moment. Now, I'm convinced that you can turn that around from scarcity to abundance, and that you're going to have to, because that's the only way to serve your mission going forward. And while there's no magic answer, and the road will be bumpy and uncomfortable at times, I know that you can make this turnaround. That was evident to me in yesterday's afternoon session, watching you talk with each other. The conversations you had can be a start on a new way to engage. The fact is that money, that is your financial situation and that of many other UU congregations, is just too stressful. It's just too darn stressful, more than it needs to be, especially for you as volunteer leaders here. There's too much anxiety in the system, and I have some ideas to help reduce the stress and help you find a smoother and healthier roadmap, and we'll offer those at the session following the service. So my hope for you, really all of you, is that you'll take my word for this, that you can engage with one another, Share your deepest hopes and dreams for the church for next year and for the many years into the future. That you can talk with each other, that you can make beautiful jazz and other kinds of music together, bringing all of yourselves and all of your gifts, and that you'll find ways to have deep and personal stewardship conversations with one another about what it will take for First Parish to thrive. Please join me after the service to hear a little bit about stewardship for us and what I recommend for you, as Martha promised.
Thank you, Barry. I was just trying to tease everybody into making sure you stay afterwards to join us. The punchline is yet to come. But let's think about this. What better way then to open up this new year than for us to gather together as a community and to really grow and adapt to this changing world. So personally, I started the new year by forming an intention to grow spiritually. I'm striving to connect with my Irish ancestors, and I'm starting a journey of learning about pagan gods and rituals. And that is partly what inspired the call to worship that referenced Janus. Janus is the god of beginnings and doors. Janus is well suited for this time that we find ourselves in as a congregation. This is because often Janus is depicted with two faces, one looking one way and one looking the other. One looking forward and one looking backwards, looking east and west. He is the god of transitions. Now, many scholars suggest that January is named after Janus, and in Western culture, this month represents the beginning of a new year. Often we take this time to reflect on the past, while we also begin to look to the future. We close out the old year by reflecting on our accomplishments, and we prepare for the new year by setting intentions for ourselves. And the executive board is asking you at this time to also fully engage in this next steps process. In reinvigorating our stewardship for this congregation and in renewing our covenant to one another. So please join us afterwards for this session right downstairs in the sanctuary. And may we be guided by the mythology of Janus. May we look backwards at our rich history while simultaneously looking forward at the possibility of goodness to come. This is the beginning of a new chapter for First Parish. Please, dare to take the first step, to go through that figurative and literal door that will lead us as a congregation to our collective goals.
Thank you, Martha and Barry. Appreciate those words. So you'll notice if you look carefully that I was not listed in the order of services offering a reflection, but I got stuff to say, so deal with it. It's funny, my first cat was actually named Janus, or Janus. So that's often been something close to my heart. I'm born in January. That idea of looking back and forward, I think, has always been something that resonates with me. Something that resonates, I think, we as Unitarian Universalists, one of our central hymns, Spirit of Life, roots hold me close, wings set me free. We are rooted in the past. There's history. Our ancestors, this historic meeting house is so important to us. And as a progressive faith, we are called to look forward, to be the change that we wish to see in the world. That duality, I think, is central not only to our faith, but who we are as humans. So I would invite you to, as difficult as that can be, try to hold both. There were many ideas over this weekend that I just had to share with you all, because some things I had not even considered that I highlighted, and I'm sure you have some other things that might have resonated more with you. But these were specific ideas coming from an expert who deals with stewardship, with growth, and has with hundreds of congregations, right? So as an outsider coming in with a unique perspective, some things I was not aware of. For example, Barry said that a lot of church shoppers actually are doing that in August. Well, he said, because a lot of families move to a new town in August before the church year. So maybe, having fuller worship services throughout the summer might be a good idea. I think that's a fantastic idea, something we should consider. This one really was interesting. Here we typically share the plate with a social justice organization maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the year. The rest of the Sundays, the offering plate goes to First Parish. Interestingly, Barry said the data suggests that, frankly, churches who share the plate every Sunday actually bring in not only money for that social justice organization, but more for the church itself, because people are inspired to give far beyond what they normally would. That's very interesting. And I don't think our social justice people would be too upset if we started doing that more. And all of these ideas, we were all saying yesterday, well, Barry's probably right, maybe not, but if we did these things for a year, then we would know, right? Another one, anyone who was on the board a few years ago, David Russell, you remember, we were during COVID saying, gee, how are we going to get our offering because people aren't here? We're not going to write checks or drop $1 or whatever. So we did PayPal, but the problem was there was a fee, right? And so the board was kind of saying to everybody, hey, that's great, do PayPal, but could you also give us 3% in addition to cover the fee? Which wasn't really happening all the time. Well, Barry heard this and was like, you knuckleheads, essentially. It's like, that is so short-sighted. He said, actually, the data suggests that if you give people an easy digital option, credit card, QR code, or something that they can easily do from their phone, they will give far more than that 3% on average. Interesting idea. Again, this is the beauty of why we hired someone to come and share some things that we just didn't realize. No one on the board thought about that. Another thing for membership outreach, we track on Sunday mornings how many people are sitting in the pews. But Barry was saying, well, gee, if you want to really grow, you got to be a little more targeted. How many visitors are there? When the visitors come, how often do they come back? Well, why not? Are you having lots of visitors, little visitors? What's the follow-up? Because the answers to those questions will lead you to doing different actions. So, it's a different problem if you can't get visitors versus if you do get visitors, but they never come back. So that's all something to consider. Another thing, super inspired by, that we talked about at our meeting yesterday, the idea of maybe once a month, Dewey is very invested in working with me to make this happen. Maybe trying a once a month dinner church, maybe a Wednesday evening where parents or anybody who's busy can pop in at 5:30, family friendly, bring the kids, we'll give you dinner, and then we'll come up for a quiet, candlelit, peaceful vigil hour service, 5:30 to 7, dinner's on us, something to try. The other thing that Barry mentioned earlier and is really important is that if we are to do a capital campaign, we're not doing that just to say, we need your money. What we are trying to do is live into our mission and vision as a congregation and do things that will reinforce that and speak to that. So for example, if we are a congregation that cares deeply about the environment, it would live into our mission to make this building more environmentally sustainable. That costs money. Another idea thrown out yesterday. If we're a family church, we care about our kiddos, which we do. What about building a playground out front for our children? Has the added benefit of any new person in town drives by, they see a playground out front, they say, gee, that must be a family church. Maybe I should have my family come on a Sunday. These are the ideas that I think we may want to consider. So obviously, as we mentioned, we will be hearing more about this at 11:30 and some of his findings and some of his recommendations. But here's my challenge to all of you, and then I promise I'll be quiet. We can have all the ideas in the world. The harder thing is making them happen, implementing them with our limited resources. So my challenge to all of you is to think deeply about how we want to move forward. And then perhaps the harder thing on what you personally are going to do to help us get there. That's all I have to say. Now I'd invite forward George Lester to introduce the offering.
Thanks, everybody. So I'll be brief. Many of you were here yesterday, so you've heard this already. But for those that didn't, Barry gave us some interesting discussion prompts, and my favorite was we did this thing called I Remember When, and it was just in your mind come up with a special moment that you remember in the church, and then that led to a discussion of what, for each of us individually, what makes the church so special. And I know for me, it was remembering our kids doing coming of age and being so proud when they got up and gave a little talk and really saw them grow spiritually. And then that led to more discussion about how great the whole, what a great RE community we had with that generation of the kids, and that we're seeing again and again with new generations. And we couldn't help but remember the ski trips, which were so much fun back then. But anyway, the point is, think for yourselves. Think about what are your special moments with the church, and then give generously to so that we can keep doing that and take our community to the next level. And thanking Barry for his support.
You need a reminder that cell phones are not allowed in church. Someone's been ringing. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, The Ceaseless Flow of Endless Time, which is number 350 in your grade. An hour ago, I changed our benediction because I received this poem from Fritz. It says, Yes, by William Stafford. It could happen anytime. Tornado, earthquake, Armageddon, it could happen. Or sunshine, love, salvation. It could, That's why we wake and look out. No guarantees in this life. But some bonuses, like morning, right now, like noon, like evening. We hold all of this in the deepest gratitude. Go in peace.
I'll now extinguish our chalice, but may its light and warmth stay in our hearts until we meet again. Here ends our worship. Let our service begin.